What actors left their TV show to pursue bigger projects? And it actually worked. SNL almost feels like cheating, but Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Martin Short, Christopher Guest, David Spade, Janeane Garofalo, Ben Stiller, Billy Crystal and various others would all probably count. Hell, even Rob Schneider had a decently successful string of movies for better or worse. Would have added Robert Downey Jr., Gilbert Gottfried, Chris Rock, Damon Wayans, Joan Cusack, Randy Quaid and Adam Sandler, but they were all fired rather than leaving, so technically they don't count. Been watching Olivia Colman since Peep Show, the Mitchell Webb look. I believe she wasn't really in the later seasons of Peep Show. Since then I've watched her in everything from Broadchurch to Fleabag to The Crown, not to mention her films. She has a truly astonishing page on IMDb, wildly surpassing any other actor's body of work from that dainty little London show Callipin and House Maryland, most notably known for Harold Kumar. He was killed off in So 5 EP20. Kuttner's suicide was scripted due to actor Callipin's decision to accept the position of Associate Director of the White House Office of Public Liaison in President Barack Obama's administration. With the exception of George Clooney, pretty much every single comment on this post has had someone replying pointing out that the actor either didn't leave voluntarily or in some cases didn't leave at all, or was already successful elsewhere before they left. Absolute key credit. Ron Howard left Happy Days to direct and is now one of the most successful Hollywood directors of all time. Jim Carrey leaving In Living Color is an obvious one. SNL probably has a whole bunch, but I frankly could not be bothered to look up who left and who was let go. Taraji P. Henson getting killed off of CBS Person of Interest, itself a very good show, way ahead of its time, was the best thing that ever happened to her career. Man, was that episode ever a gut punch though. Maybe one of the only times I've ever cried over TV. The Rock stepped away from pro wrestling at his peak to pursue his film career. He was a bit of a joke for close to a decade and could only land roles and box office bombs. I was pretty surprised in the 2010s when he finally started landing big roles. James McAvoy leaving early doors for Shameless kick-started it all for him. I know he did Band of Brothers around the same time, but he technically didn't leave one for the other until he left early doors after Series 1. George Clooney is probably one of the best examples because I assume most people now associate him with movies and not with ER. It took some time, but Julianne Margulies hit it big again with The Good Wife after ER. Okay, let's get some more women in here. Karen Gillan left Doctor Who's Amy Pond, already a massive hit, and within the space of a couple of years was in one of the biggest box office hits of all time, as Nebula. Dan Stevens did not renew his contract with Downton Abbey after the third season, which is why his character has a sudden car accident death. He then went on to be in Beauty and the Beast, among other film roles. I can think of many examples of actors and actresses leaving their shows and never having a career after that, but I can't think of any examples of where it worked out for them, but I'm sure there are many. Jared Padalecki left Gilmore Girls for Supernatural. Callipin left House to work at the White House. That's pretty cool. Adam Brody left a regular role on Gilmore Girls for a larger one on OC. Brent Spiner was also set up to be a recurring character on Night Court, but he ditched the gig when the sci-fi sequel show offered him a part. Callipin left a regular supporting cast role on House MD to become a speechwriter for President Obama. Sort of non-linear kind of career move, but a big one depending on how to look at it. Suzanne Summers. After she left Three's Company she did some other TV, was in Playboy, started the Thigh Master thing. I think the exercise stuff was far more lucrative than her TV career. Loads left Neighbours and had huge acting and pop careers, including Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, Guy Pearce, Russell Crowe, Natalie Imbruglia, Chris Hemsworth, Margot Robbie. Johnny Depp left 21 Jump Street and did a crapload of movies. The show tried to replace him with Richard Grieco, but it was just sad the way he tried to be the same tough guy. Claire Danes chose to let My So-Called Life in so she could focus on her film career, and ended up doing Romeo and Juliet the next year as well as several other big products. Steve Carell leaving The Office to pursue his film career was a genius move. He went on to deliver unforgettable performances that proved his incredible range as an actor. Margot Robbie left Neighbours and moved to LA. Seems to have worked out for her. It wasn't a two-bit part either, she was part of the core character arcs for a few years. In the 1960s Clint Eastwood, Rawhide and Steve McQueen, One and Dead or Alive were in successful TV westerns. They did pretty good for themselves after that. John Travolta, Welcome Back, Kotter. James Garner, Maverick. Sally Field The Flying Nun, Clint Eastwood Rawhide, Johnny Depp 21 Jump Street, Alex Ferns, Trevor Morgan from EastEnders, has been in Chernobyl, The Naked Coal Miner, The Batman, Taboo, The Devil's Hour, Andor, to name a few. Donald Glover leaving Community to pursue his musical career. I almost couldn't remember his name at first and just thought Childish Gambino. Donald Glover left Community and produced Atlanta, as well as continued his music career releasing singles like This Is America in 2005. Ariana Grande left a live-action Nickelodeon show to become one of the most identifiable people, let alone pop artist, on the planet. The show Party Down died early because everyone on it, especially Jane Lynch Adams Scott, got better paying network job offers. Clint Eastwood, coming from Rawhide, was the least expected movie star, even more so finding his way through spaghetti western. Denzel Washington, Helen Hunt, Howie Mandel, Mark Harmon, amongst others who all appeared as regulars in Saint Elsewhere. Tom Hanks. You remember, the dark curly-haired guy from Bosom Buddies? Pretty sure he was in some movies afterward. Not necessarily an actor, but The Miz in WWE was a reality show star and has become a big deal in pro wrestling. Leonardo DiCaprio left Growing Pains to do This Boy's Life. That was basically the start of his acting career. Alec Baldwin left Knots Landing to briefly do Broadway and then was a movie star just a couple of years later. George Clooney, Will Smith, Steve Carell, Katherine Heigl, Chris Pratt, Robin Williams, Jennifer Aniston. Pat Sackhoff used to be the weatherman on one of my local TV stations. He quit to host some game show. Does anyone else remember Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks? Also Robin Williams from Mork and Mindy. Chris Pratt had a great run on Parks and Rec, then somehow unexpectedly became a Marvel superstar. Ronald Reagan left making Western movies behind to pursue politics. Unfortunately it worked. Dan Stevens has had several higher profile movie and TV roles after leaving Downton Abbey. Technically it was cancelled, but Tom Hanks went on to bigger things after Bosom Buddies. Bruce Willis left moonlighting to pursue a movie career. He knocked it out of the park. Kylie Minogue left Neighbors. Went on to over 30 years of being an iconic pop artist. Dolly Parton left the Porter Wagoner Show in 1974 to pursue a solo career. It worked. I'm not sure he technically left Family Ties, but Michael J. Fox is worth mentioning. Topher Grace? It's not the most prolific career, but he's in some big budget stuff. The Simpsons left the Tracey Ullman Show and got a long-running show of their own. Ryan Reynolds, not sure he left, more the show no longer existed. Eddie Murphy. I scrolled a bunch, never saw Chris Pratt. Seems like a big transition to me. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air will not be a movie actor. Ben Affleck probably. Tom Hanks was on Bosom Buddies. I would say the move to film worked out well. Karen Gillian leaving Doctor Who to play Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. David Tennant resumed post his full-time in Doctor Who is pretty incredible. Michael J. Fox left a sitcom to star in the greatest movie of all time. Michael Douglas left Streets of San Francisco a year before it ended. Denzel Washington Street Elsewhere and John Travolta Welcome Back Carter. Pierce Brosnan. Nobody thought Remington Steele could be James Bond. George Clooney left TR, and he then went on to win multiple Oscars. Meg Ryan and Julianne Moore both left CBS soap As the World Turns. Nobody thought Bruce Willis could pull off being an action star. Didn't Leonardo DiCaprio leave Growing Pains to be in movies? Stephen Yeun left Walking Dead. Ended up being an Oscar nominee. I remember when Bruce Willis left Moonlighting. What a mistake. I feel like Meghan Markle should be on this list somewhere. Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec to Guardians of the Galaxy. Tommy Lee Jones moved on from One Life to Live, and Alanis Morissette left You Can't Do That on television. Johnny Depp left 21 Jump Street for that very reason.